Let's talk about how to pass Deloitte's video interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English, here with a new Pass the Interview video, one of our firm favorites, Deloitte, which we're updating for 2023. Today we're going to be going through how to pass the video interview for Deloitte. I'm going to be walking you through our brand new research note, which is part of our Deloitte Pass the Interview pack, which you can find down in the description below. For 2023, we wanted to deliver an even better Pass the Interview pack, so we're covering everything that you could expect to come across, whether that be writing a business email, doing a case study, or working through SJT questions, and also our 17-minute interview preparation crash course, all in one bundle to give you everything that you need to pass the Deloitte video interview. And we've had many wonderful success stories from the thousands of people who've bought our courses in 2022. You can find the link for the Deloitte Pass the Interview pack updated for 2023 down in the description below. So this video is going to be split up into 3 parts. First of all, I'm going to walk you through the whole application process for Deloitte and what you can expect in 2023 based upon our research from publicly available sources from recent months. Then I'm going to talk to you in depth about what you can expect in the video interview and the job-based simulation. And lastly, I'm going to give you some closing thoughts, some other things to think about the simulation, the interview questions, and the general Deloitte process. Hold your hats. This is going to be a really in-depth video. I hope that you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed researching and making it for you. So let's get started. The Deloitte process is split up into 5 stages. There's registration, filling in online forms, an immersive online assessment, a job simulation, and then you could either have a one-to-one interview or an assessment center. What's the difference, you ask? Well, there are many professionals who have watched our videos and have said, hey Mike, what's the difference if I'm a professional rather than a graduate? So generally professionals don't tend to go to assessment centers. They're more likely to go for one-to-one or panel interviews. And this is the first time in our research notes when we clearly distinguish the difference between graduates and professionals, because we know how important that is. If you want to learn how to pass the first 3 stages of the Deloitte assessment, from registration, filling on online forms, and the immersive online assessment, make sure to check out the Deloitte Pass the Interview pack below, because we cover all of that in our research note. So let's go all the way through to stage 4 and the job simulation and what you can expect. So for the job simulation, we haven't seen too much change from 2022. So you're still expecting to get an online test or simulation, which is going to consist of 18 questions in 45 minutes. You're definitely going to have numerical, verbal, and SJT questions, 67 video interview questions, and interestingly, different candidates report different experiences after this. You could have a small case study or writing an email. These are additional things that you might also expect to come across. So it would be helpful for you to prepare for those. So what's the best way to prepare for this interview? Well, we really split it down into 5 parts. You should definitely prepare for situational judgment test questions, which you can do using our SJT sorted course, which is in our bundle, numerical questions, which we talk about how to prepare for these, case studies, which we cover in our Keep It Natural case study course, writing a business email, where we talk about how to write a business email in one of our handouts, and finally video interview questions is the 5th part. So let's move on to part 2. What is the best way to prepare for a video interview? You're going to have 6 to 7 questions, 2 to 3 minutes to answer. You basically want to split your time like this. So research, which we've already done for you if you buy the pack, it's about 10% of your time. Writing scripts out, which you can really drastically cut the time down if you use our packs and sample answers, about 40%, but half of your time should be spent speaking out loud. I cannot stress how important this is, and I return to this point time and time again now that I'm in my 10th and coming to my 11th year of coaching and consulting and preparing people for interviews at massive companies. The more time that you spend doing realistic practice, the better that your interview is going to be. And we go into this in great detail in our crash course and in the 28 most common interview question answered ebook. Let's talk about the 6 most common questions that you can expect and how to answer these. Question number 1, why do you want to work for Deloitte? So for an in-depth answer of how to answer this question, as well as a free worksheet, make sure you click the thumbnail up above. Just think 5 fast facts. Pull out 5 good facts about the company which are unique, whether that be from their About Us, their history page, their annual report, their blogs, their core values, whatever it is, they should be unique to the company, not just another generic, I really want to work for Deloitte because it's a massive company and it really helped me grow and I'd have access to a world-class team and world-class skills. That is the answer that we see time and time again, and it's not a particularly effective answer because it doesn't differentiate you from your competition. So just think 5 fast facts, 5 unique facts that I can pull out about Deloitte. Question number 2. Why do you want to do this role? Why this role? What do you know about this role? So for another in-depth answer of how to answer this question, as well as a free worksheet, make sure you click the thumbnail up above. When you're answering this question, you need to remember that we're really splitting this into 2 discrete parts. Part number 1, just describe what you would be doing. Deloitte's video interview is powered by AI-driven video interview software. And part of the algorithm of this is to pick out key skills, keywords that are relevant to the job description. Now you really want to think about this carefully because all you want to do is regurgitate the job description. So if you're going to be an auditor, what would you do as an auditor day to day? If you're going to be a tax consultant, what would you do? It's really very easy, the first part. You're basically just listing out the skills and responsibilities that are required for you to do this job. The second thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to match those skills and those tasks to the experience that you have and what you're going to be doing. So this is where you get to talk about yourself and you say, well, I have great numerical skills because I've been studying a maths degree. I've got really good Excel skills because I had to learn to do macros in my finance module in my degree, for example. So you can relate 2, 3, 4 of those key skills, those key experiences to the job that you're going to do to really smash this answer out of the park. Question number 3, tell us about a time when you worked as part of a team. So whenever you get asked competency-based questions like this, you always want to think of STAR, which is situation, task, action, result. Now, the trick to this is you want to remember that the action part is going to form the majority of your answer, 70% of your answer, in fact. It's going to really make up the bulk of where you're explaining exactly what it is that you did to show that you're really good at teamwork, where you communicated, resolved conflict, helped others, did your part for the task of the job, and so on and so forth. Now, we actually go into this in great detail in the 28 most common interview questions answered ebook, but if you wanted to, you could really just Google good teamwork skills. Now, when you're thinking about choosing an example, I would recommend choose an example from work. If you can. If you can't, then something that is not related to academics. Just because this is something above and beyond what you have to do, there is nothing wrong with academic experience. And if you only have that you can use, then that's absolutely fine. But of course, we all have to sit and do our degree. That's why we're applying for a graduate job. So if you can use anything that is a slightly closer fit in terms of skills and experience for that job, then that makes it even better. So as you're going through and talking about this, one really key thing that I want to emphasize is make sure you're as specific as possible. When did you do this? Where were you? Who was part of your team? What specifically did you do? What result did you achieve? The more specific you are, the easier it is to understand and the clearer is the message that you're trying to communicate. Generally, where I see people go wrong with competency questions is they're too vague. So they'll say, well, when I was working as a waiter, I had a time where there was a team of us who, my first question was going to be, where were you as a waiter? What was the date? What was the company? What was the situation? What's the context for this? Question number 4, tell me about a time when you had a challenge that you had to overcome and what you did. Now, I absolutely love this question. The first thing that I would say about this is this needs to be a challenge that has multiple steps, ideally at least 3 steps or 3 moving parts. What do I mean by this? Well, a challenge could be, I came into the office today and I didn't have any milk, so I couldn't have my morning coffee. That's not really a challenge, is it? That's a single step that I had to take. The second layer of complexity of this, I went to 3 local stores and I couldn't find any milk. The third layer of complexity could be, well, I had a deadline for a project that I had to hand in by lunchtime, which meant that, and then I introduced a solution. What that means is that there's 2, 3 or more layers of complexity. I would say no more than 5, but make sure that the challenge is really personal to you. A common mistake that I tend to find is people will talk about a challenge that actually doesn't sound that challenging. They make it sound good because they think it's what people want to hear. So it might be a report that you had to write at work or an essay that was due. If it's genuinely truthful and you're like, wow, that was really hard, I'm really proud that I managed to achieve that thing, then that's absolutely fine. Make sure first and foremost that the challenge is something that you truly deem to be something that was above and beyond the norm or outside of your comfort zone. That's really important, okay? And then as you go through, clearly outline the steps that you had to take to overcome this challenge. Now, this is another mistake that I see people make. They'll just say, well, I had multiple deadlines that I had to achieve and then I did all my coursework and it was fine. And I'm like, whoa, take a step back. What were the steps that you had to go through to complete this challenge? Like, how did you organize your time? How did you organize your material? How did you diarize? How did you schedule your deadlines? And so on and so forth. That's really, really important, right? So if you're not doing that, then you're going to find that your answer isn't really going to hold together. Make sure you outline the individual steps that you had to take to overcome this challenge step by step by using something that I call the grandma test or the 5-year-old rule. Imagine that you're trying to explain it to Nana or trying to explain it to a 5-year-old, and that makes your answers much more simplistic, clearer, and easier to understand. Question number 5, what are your strengths and weaknesses? So you'll probably want to pick out 2 strengths, 1 weakness for this. The strength should match the job description. So if you need good numerical skills, you're going to say that this is one of your strengths. Don't just pick a strength which just randomly comes to mind. Again, you want to make sure this matches the job description. It matches the algorithm, the kind of ATS, application tracking system, keyword matching thingamajig that is going to be running through each of your answers. So you're like, yeah, they mentioned numerical skills 5 times. That's really a good thing for us. That's a good match. We should put them through to the next round. And just make sure as you're demonstrating that strength, that you will also explain the experience that you have. So it's not just your opinion, it's actually, well, I have good numerical skills because I got a first in my mathematics degree, for example. Now, for the weakness, this is often a question that a lot of people struggle with. And what I would say to you is, number 1, that your weakness should be honest, and it should clearly demonstrate a lesson that you've learned. When you're talking about your weakness, and one that I've quoted many times because it's something that I struggle with time management and organization due to having a reasonably busy schedule. And so, well, something that I've struggled with recently is my time management and organizational skills, and it can be a bit of a weakness of mine. What ended up happening is that I had a deadline for a client that I needed to push back. What I did is that I got open and honest with the people that are around me, and I basically said to them, look, I think that I'm struggling and I'm not really organizing things the way that should be organized. I sat down with a member of my team, we listed out all the tasks that I had to do, ranked them in terms of urgency and importance, made sure that we have a meeting every single Monday where we outline what are the most important tasks that need to be done this week. And then based upon that, I put that into my calendar and make sure when I get into the office every day, nothing else gets done until my most difficult tasks are already done. And as a result, we've been much more organized and the business has been growing really well. So you'll notice that, yes, I've shared a weakness that people might think, well, that's not so good for the job, but I've also clearly demonstrated what I've learned and how I've gotten better. So a weakness is all just about something that you're trying to improve and a lesson that you're trying to learn. Question number 6, how would you introduce yourself to senior colleagues? Tell me about yourself. Now, for an in-depth answer of how to answer this question and a free worksheet, click the thumbnail up above. Introducing yourself to senior colleagues is no different to just introducing yourself. All you're going to be doing is that instead of saying that you're a student studying a degree or a professional working a job, you're going to be taking on the role of whatever it is that you're meant to be. Hi, my name's Mike and I'm a graduate auditor at Deloitte. And then you're just going to launch into your personal introduction, which is going to be, this is what I've done in the past 3 to 5 years. This is my work experience. These are my extracurricular activities and volunteering. these are my skills and interests. And if you want, just end with a hook or with a conversation point. One thing I would say is if you're watching this now and you've never prepared a personal introduction or tell me about yourself, then make sure you do that by clicking the thumbnail up above. This is a really great place for you to start off with if you've never done an interview and you're really not sure about how to sell yourself. A good personal introduction, which is practiced multiple times, is really going to help. And I will end on that note. Good personal introductions require practice. So if you're bad, you will get better. But I would say on average, I see people really improve after they've practiced this every single day for 7 to 14 days. So it takes a little bit of time, but the more volume that you do, and you can accelerate that by recording yourself and watching yourself back and really noticing the things that you get wrong. So here's a couple of other questions that we come across that I want to run through in a rapid fire round. How do you handle pressure? I handle pressure well. Then you should use this like a competency-based question. So you'll be answering, talking about a time when you handled pressure well using STAR. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? You're still going to be at Deloitte and you're going to be 5 years forward in the hierarchical structure, probably a manager or a senior manager. A recent piece of news you've heard, what challenges does your industry face? Make sure that you read or subscribe to a newsletter which has industry news based on the industry that you want to work in. So for example, if you want to work in tax, just write in tax industry news. You're going to find an industry news website and they will probably have a newsletter you can sign up for, a weekly news roundup. All you really need to do with this question is just make sure you pick something which is relatively simple and easy to understand and explain. The most common mistake that I find people make with this question is they'll try and do something like explain world inflation or explain cryptocurrency, and it's just far too complicated to do in 2 minutes. Just pick one company, one thing, one person, what's happening to them, give a summary of that, and maybe give your closing thoughts or why you feel that this is important. What would you do if you made a mistake? This is another competency question. Give me a time when you made a mistake which wasn't so severe. How did you adjust? How did you get feedback? How did you plan your time or your organization a little bit better? Tell me about a time when you had to adapt to change. So what you'd want to talk about when you're sort of speaking about adapting to change is maybe, there was a conflict, maybe somebody has changed the way that they work with you, maybe a member of your team has left, maybe somebody in your group dropped out. Really highlight the change, talk about what the change means, and then what you had to do additionally, or how you spread that work out amongst other people. And finally, tell me about a deadline when you weren't able to reach it. So not reaching a deadline is probably something most people have faced when it either comes to coursework, university work, or just something very simple at work, like you were meant to clean all the counters by 4:30, but it was really busy and you missed the deadline. Most importantly, with any type of negative interview questions, is you really demonstrating, what did I learn? How did I make sure that this thing didn't happen again? So that's everything for the job-based simulation. Just some closing thoughts and things to think about when it comes to the interview. It is really about that 50% of speaking. Making sure that you've got your scripts done as soon as possible, you get your research done, and you're spending at least half your time practicing speaking out loud. If you want the best opportunity and chance of success, make sure you check out our Deloitte Pass the Interview pack down in the description below. I'm sure that you're going to get absolutely massive value out of this. And to be frankly honest with you, if you really don't like it, it has a 60-day money back, no questions asked guarantee. Guys, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I wish you the very best of luck with your Deloitte interview in 2023, and I will see you next time. Bye.